What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the finale. We finally have done it with a day to spare. The draft is tomorrow, and what perfect timing to finish the 32-team 7-round mock draft series with a team that has, they don't have a first-round pick because they traded for Stephon Diggs, which I think they're pretty damn happy about, and that is the Buffalo Bills. So before we get into the mock draft here for the Buffalo Bills, through the power of Madden 20, we're going to look at the roster and the moves that they have made and acquired during this offseason through free agency and trades, and kind of get a good idea of what their needs are going to be for this mock draft that we are going to try to assess and address. So without further ado, jump into the offense here for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, you think you have something good in Josh Allen. He took you to the playoffs, got you a win. I would say maybe get a backup. Obviously, I have my personal vendetta against Matt Barkley, but a backup late-round flyer could be okay. At running back, you have Devin Singletary, who was one of the better rookie running backs in the National Football League last year, but they do pretty much, at least from what I can tell from an outsider looking in, want to run a committee. So I think adding another running back here that can take in and eat in Frank Gore snaps that are no longer there could be healthy to have a 1-2 punch there with Devin Singletary. So I would say maybe look at bringing a running back in. At wide receiver, you got Diggs. That's your do-it-all. Obviously, he's now your big premier player on offense. Brown's your deep threat. Cole Beasley in the slot. I think you can do some size, though. There's like no wide receiver really on this team outside of Foster, who's like considerably over 6 feet tall. So I think adding a big possession wide receiver, if not two, would be one of my main targets here for a Bills mock draft. On the offensive line, it's pretty solid. I think you could, they got Darrell Williams here. Maybe he'll be a tackle. You could flip Cody Ford into guard. Just depth on the O-line. I would say right now it's fine, but if there's a solid tackle, guard, anything like that, day 3, maybe make that pick. At tight end, even though he's not there because he's constantly underrated by Madden, but you're good at tight end. I think between Croft, Kroom, and the guy, the man of the hour, Dawson Knox, I think they're pretty good at tight end, even though he's not there for some reason. He's not one of their top 3, even though he should be because I think he's their best tight end. I still have dreams of that unreal stiff arm he had last season. So for the offense, I think getting bigger at wide receiver, bringing in a big wide receiver, bringing in another running back, and adding some depth on the interior offensive line will be where I would go. Defensively, this is a very well-ran unit. I think Sean McDermott's one of the most underrated head coaches in the National Football League. The front 4 is solid. You got Jerry Hughes. They brought Addison. They pretty much are becoming like, we always rip on the Belichick disciples. You see in Miami, you see in Detroit, they're all getting the ex-Patriots. Well, McDermott loves ex-Carolina Panthers. You got, who do we have that spent time in Carolina? Darrell Williams, they got him over on the offense. That's all I can really remember on the offense. The defense, you got Mario Addison has been there. They got Taylor, I think. One of them. They got another guy on the D tackle, Love or Taylor, I can't remember his name, but he also came from the Carolina Panthers. Josh Norman from the Carolina Panthers. AJ Klein from the Carolina Panthers. If it were Star Lotulelei coming from the Carolina Panthers. But anyways, looking at the team here, Hughes, Addison, Murphy, Johnson, maybe you could use another edge rusher in there, but generally there's no real weakness here on this defensive line. Lots of depth, but you could argue maybe getting a younger, more explosive edge rusher could help, but those don't really grow on trees, and you're not going to spend a premium pick on one. Linebacking core, solid. Edmonds, one of the best young linebackers in the National Football League. Milano's solid. Klein, more of a journeyman, but he's not a liability at this point. Maybe adding another linebacker could be good, even though I think my boy out of Florida, Voshon Joseph, can continue to develop for you guys. So linebacker, not a top need, but if you can, it won't be bad. The safety pairing of Poyer and Micah Hyde is really solid, but there's not a lot of youth behind him. So maybe if you can get a younger safety, mid day 2, late day 3, somewhere in that range, it could be helpful. Secondary, you got Trey White, lockdown corner. Outside of that, though, kind of taking a flyer on Josh Norman. Levi Wallace is average. Johnson's average, which is not a bad thing, but I definitely think corner. If I'm looking at this defense, I would say maybe get younger at safety, younger at edge rusher, but another corner pair of Trey White will be one of my top priorities in this mock draft. So with that being said, let's get into the final 7-round mock draft of the 2020 mock draft season here on the channel and finish up here with the Buffalo Bills. Let's get it. And we are finally here, the final 7-round mock draft for the draft season. I'm sure of it, right? I can't be missing a team. I'm now, I got 4 pages of notes. I'm recording these kind of all ahead of time. I think it is. And at pick 54, the Buffalo Bills, who are very happy with their first-round draft pick of Stephon Diggs, are going to select, and they're going to kick things off with Curtis Weaver, defensive end from Boise State, 6'2", 265 pounds, a high floor edge rusher that kind of reminds me of Derek Barnett a little bit of the Eagles. An okay athlete who was, really wins with motor and technique. Proven production in 3 years at Boise State, 130 tackles, 46.5 TFLs, 34 sacks, 3-time first team Mountain West. I mean, he's probably the best edge rusher Mountain West has ever had. I think he solidifies the Buffalo Bills defensive end. You lost a couple guys. Dude from Clemson bounced. He went to the Dolphins. Shaq Lawson. You brought in Mario Addison. He's getting up there in age a little bit. Trent Murphy, not a long-term deal. You got Jerry Hughes getting out there in age. So I just think long-term at the defensive end, it's a spot that they can definitely get younger at, definitely can get cheaper at. And a guy like Curtis Weaver brings a very safe floor. He's going to be a guy, I think, at worst, can get you 5-6 sacks. And then you're talking about a second-round player like that, that's really good. And if not, he can develop. And I trust Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier get the most of pretty much every young player that they do draft. They've been hitting it so far with Ed Oliver, Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, Trey White, safeties. I mean, reclamation project. Micah Hyde's playing his best football, playing way better for Buffalo than he did in Green Bay. Same with Jordan Poyer. So I think with pretty much anyone that they get defensively, that they give the okay for, they're going to elevate. And I think a guy like Curtis Weaver, that's a dangerous player to add to their defensive end rotation. Going to the third round of pick 86, I was looking Cam Akers, running back from Florida State, 5'10", 220 pounds. Now, there's a chance he's not there. He's going to be one of those guys at the running back spot that I think could surprise. Team could fall in love because he's only 20, so he's a little bit younger. So it's a value pick. Again, could sneak into the second, but for my mock, he was still here. Akers is a great athlete, 4.47, 20 reps on the bench press. A great compliment to Devin Singletary, and will do more with Frank Gore's percentage of reps. I really don't think they're ever going to have, Devin Singletary be the lead back. Devin Singletary run the ball 30 times. They're always going to have a little bit of a committed approach, which in today's NFL, it's worth it to have. So assuming that Devin Singletary definitely gets an uptick because he will be the lead back there, but someone needs to carry that load of 10, 12 carries that Frank Gore is getting. Cam Akers, immediate upgrade. He's going to do a lot more with that percentage of snaps that Frank Gore has got rid of because he's no longer on the team. So I think he's a great two-headed long-term attack if you have Devin Singletary and Cam Akers going forward for the Buffalo Bills, a team that 100% always needs to have an on-point rushing attack to complement Josh Allen. Going to the fourth round at 128, I was selecting Brian Edwards, wide receiver from South Carolina, 6'2", 210 pounds, one of my sleeper wide receivers in the draft. Never really had excellent production, has had some medicals and stuff like that, but when you watch the tape, you're like, wow, if this guy can stay healthy, he's going to be something special. He has excellent jump ball ability and complements the wide receiver core that the Buffalo Bills already have. Even with the addition of Stephon Diggs, they do not have, well, how big is Stephon Diggs? 6 feet tall, maybe? 5'11"? Diggs is barely 6 feet tall. So you have Diggs that's 6 feet tall, John Brown that's 5'10", and Cole Beasley on the side that's 5'8". They need to get some legit size phrasing on that wide receiver depth chart. And Brian Edwards is going to bring that in right away. A very physical receiver. Like I said, limited production in 4 years at South Carolina. 3,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, but the tape is really impressive. And at times, you could look really over the last 2 years, comparing him with Deebo Samuel, who really hit the ground running with the San Francisco 49ers. And there was times Brian Edwards looked like the straight-up better wide receiver. I'm not going to make that claim right now, but I think Brian Edwards, especially when you're getting into day 3, could be the best wide receiver that's going to be on the board. And this is a really, really strong draft class. If the wide receiver draft class wasn't so strong, I think teams might be more comfortable taking him in the third round, taking him maybe not the second round, but kind of looking past all the red flags that are like medical reasons and production reasons. But because there's so much depth, I think he's going to slip down there, and he could fall in the fourth round, and that'd be a phenomenal pick for the Buffalo Bills. And last year, remember, I gave the Buffalo Bills, they were my big winners from the draft last year. I thought they had the best draft, and they got a lot of production from those young players. If they can hit like this again, that division could be theirs, especially with the change of the guard there with the New England Patriots. So moving on. At the fifth round, pick 168, I was selecting Kendall Vildor, corner from Georgia Southern, 5'9", 190. Productive smaller school corner, 4'4", 39.5-inch vert, so he can jump like a goddamn jackrabbit, who helped his stock with very impressive combine. He had great production in his career, 33 pass breakups, 9 interceptions. I think he's going to give Buffalo Bills a little bit more options for that slot corner spot. Right now you have Teron Johnson, 4th round pick in 2018, solid. But maybe we get a guy that's a little bit better athlete. I think instantly a guy like Vildor would probably be the second best athlete in that secondary. You got Josh Norman, the veteran presence. I don't really know what you're going to get from him, but not a great athlete. Teron Johnson, average athlete. Levi Wallace, average athlete. So you get a little bit of juice here by getting a guy like Vildor. You're going to get special teams ability. Now we're starting to talk about it in the 5th round. Like, what's the expectation that a 5th round, 6th round, 7th rounder are going to start or find a way to start? It's very few and far between. You're finding guys that are depth that can find ways to contribute in different ways versus, outside of being a day one starter. I think a guy like Vildor is a great spark plug to add to that secondary. Going to the 6th round at 188, I was letting Broderick Washington, defensive tackle from Texas Tech, 6'2", 305. So he's actually a player I haven't seen a lot of, so I'm kind of trusting the consensus scouting reports about him. He's a reliable defensive lineman who will add competition to that log jam known as the Buffalo Bills defensive tackle depth. Ed Oliver's your starter. Outside of that, who knows? Star Latulele, ugly contract. You got Quentin Jefferson, free agent, coming over from Seattle. Vernon Butler, free agent, coming over from Carolina. You got Harrison Phillips, 3rd round pick out of Stanford. You got Vincent Taylor. Like, it's just a complete logjam. And that's good and bad. They have depth, but they don't really have a clear starter next to Ed Oliver. You just have a bunch of guys that do a bunch of different things. So I think Washington is just a cheap rotational guy. Scouts rate his attitude and motor and projects to be a solid rotational defensive lineman in the NFL. Going to the second 6th round pick at 207, I was letting Geno Stone, safety from Iowa, 5'10", 210 pounds. A Bill-style defensive back. He doesn't make mistakes. He's a smart player. He's a sound tackler, which kind of makes up for his lack of athletic ability. 4'6", 33-inch vert. I mean, he's not an explosive athlete, but he's a very safe player that I think could be a depth free safety behind Micah Hyde. Maybe even compete for depth with Jaquan Johnson behind Jordan Poyer. Just getting a little bit younger because both those safeties, Poyer and Hyde, starting to get a little long in the tooth. Micah Hyde's going to be 30, Jordan Poyer 28, 29, somewhere in that range. So it's going to be to add more depth to continue with the 6th round pick, Jaquan Johnson, which I thought was a really good value pick out of Miami last year in the 6th round. I think Geno Stone in the 6th round here again, just go back to the well. It's a solid value pick, a safe player. He's not going to be a guy that's out of the league, can contribute on special teams and give you something maybe down the line. And then finish up the draft in the 7th round at pick 239. I was selecting Jawan Jennings, wide receiver from Tennessee. 6'3", 215 pounds, long, big-bodied wide receiver, which again, like Brian Edwards, adds to the wide receiver core. They need that size. Like, look, I can't, Duke Williams, you got him from the CFL, he's 6'2". Who else? You got anyone else over 6 feet tall? Robert Foster. You have 2 wide receivers in your roster that are over 6 feet tall, like legit over 6 feet tall. So Jennings, it's still a dimension that they don't have, and adding more depth to that. He's a big possession guy, red zone. Not going to run past yet because he ran a 4.72, which is why he's going to be in the 7th round. But he wins with his length and can offer maybe a big slot reps to compete with Cole Beasley. And I think that's probably his best spot. But again, it's just adding more size to a very undersized Buffalo Bills wide receiver core here in the 7th round. So there you go, guys. That does it. We are done with the 32-team 7-round mock draft series. Oof, took us a while. I would have probably lost a lot of money if you told me the draft was on the 23rd. Like, it just seems so early. Because every year it's always 27th, 28th, 29th, something like that. The 23rd. But we're able to get through it, able to shuffle things around, had a couple double uploads, but we got through it. So I hope you guys did enjoy all the work and effort that went into this 32-team 7-round mock. Hopefully we can look back and see a couple hits. There's always going to be a couple misses, but it's always nice to see when we actually predict players and they get drafted by the team. It happens every year. Not a lot. Obviously, it happened a lot. I'd probably get hired by a network or something talking about the draft, but it's just something fun to kind of distract us from everything that's going on in the world, and hopefully I kept you guys entertained. So if you guys did enjoy this whole series, please hit that subscribe button, help support the channel, smash the like button if you enjoyed, and until next time, it's C4 saying peace